Simple. Overrated or underrated?
This is a hard question for me because I played with him and I know more than the people outside of the game or public. If you look globally at it, I think he's very rated. I don't think he's underrated. From my own experience, I would say he's a little bit overrated in some factors, but yeah, he's still the best in CS, I would say.
Zeus. Overrated or underrated?
Zeus was underrated. I think the quality as leader he had, they were insane. The game reading, how he could read the opponents and how he did some calls when we were one of the best teams in the world back then. That was insane, and he made me a better player for sure. He changed my style when I came to Navi. He taught me a different ways to play CS. People in the world, they just see the stats of the player, but they don't see the other qualities. So that's why he's very underrated.
The Deagle. Overrated or underrated?
It's underrated for sure. Like from the past months of playing on FaZe, FPL or matchmaking, I got to know that anyone can kill you with Deagle. Anyone can one tap you with Deagle, and that's why it's underrated. Like the gun fit in everyone's hands, so that's why it's underrated.
CIS. Overrated or underrated?
It's overrated. I think CIS is not as good as people from CIS think. I think Navi are not as good as people think. If Navi should be the best team in CIS, they should be much better in you know in the tournaments.
Slovakian CSGO. Overrated or underrated?
It's overrated. And to be honest, not sure if everyone knows, but the Czech and Slovak scene is combined. So basically, we have one scene, and this scene is very overrated. And there's only one team at the moment who could do something in the world, but they would need a lot of time and maybe some changes. And that's Sinners. They have insane players. I think Neofrag, he will soon go to Europe because he's insanely skilled and very good player. But as a team, you could see them. I don't know what tournament was it. They beat Complexity, 16-13 or something like that. So they show that they can play against teams like this. They are not scared and they didn't pussy out. So but that's the only team we have kind of full-time teams in Czechoslovakia, but they are not good. Honestly, I will say they are not good because they haven't showed anything in Europe yet, and they think they are really good because they are getting paid. And but if you look at the results, they are not good. So that's why the Czech and Slovak scene is completely overrated.
Navi. Overrated or underrated?
At the moment, the team is overrated. They are not putting up results they should, in my opinion. And yeah, if we look back when I was playing in Navi with old lineups, Starix and Zeus and Edward, Seized and then Flamey, I think I felt like we are underrated because we always were in the top 4 of the tournaments. Sometimes we won tournament, sometimes we lost final. I think we were in like 7 or 8 finals in a row at some time. So I think we were a little bit underrated, but at the moment the team is overrated. People think they're, you know, because of, just because of Simple and Electronic, they should be the best in the world, and that creates some pressure on the team, I think. And if they don't fulfill the results people want to see, then they, you know, oh, I just feel like they're overrated just because of the people. That's my opinion.
CSGO Majors. Overrated or underrated?
Underrated, for sure, underrated. Uh, it's like asking, is the New Year's Eve or the Christmas overrated? It's not, because we are all excited to spend the time with our families, to get some presence and stuff like that, it's not overrated, right? It's underrated. The same goes to majors. We have majors 2 times a year. I think it's always exciting to play at the major, because first of all you get your signature which you don't get the whole year from other events. That's something a player want in his career, and the major, the feeling of the major is completely different than playing ESL Pro League final or playing other events. So I think it's insanely underrated, and people should realize that the teams, they go to boot camp for a long boot camp. They play almost 24/7 to get in their best form for the major. So I hope people will realize that, and they will start hyping majors even more than now.
Valorant, overrated or underrated?
I think Valorant is overrated. I think it's a bad game, and I don't think it can compete with CS. Of course, it will have its own competitive scene because it's Riot. It's not a game for me, and for FPS players, it's not even the kind of FPS game we love, because we love games like Quake, CS. That's the real FPS games, and Valorant is kind of Overwatch, and for me, it's kind of Overwatch mixed with CS. So I don't really like that, and that's why it's overrated.
Mouse sports, overrated or underrated?
I must say mouse sports are and were overrated because they won, some events, but I think I don't want to take credit from them. I think they still are a very good team, but because they won, I think ESL Pro League the last year, they were a little bit overrated, and that's why they might have started playing bad because the pressure was too high. And yeah, I think they are just overrated.
6-man rosters in CSGO, overrated or underrated?
I think it's overrated. I don't think it's a good idea. I think if you have some issues with burning out yourself and you're playing too much, then just simply sit down with the team and decide, like, hey guys, we should not attend that many events. Maybe we should take off a week. If you have too many events in a month, like 2-3 events a month, then you should drop some, and that's it. Like, I think these 6-man rosters are just created based on excuses that players are getting burned out and stuff like that. Like, if you are burned out, then just take the break and don't play that much. And I don't think 6-man rosters can work very well.
Are you overrated or underrated?
There were times when I was really underrated, and there were times when I was really overrated. I would say it's 50-50. I was both, and I know why, because people were expecting from me much more than I was capable of at some times. But when I was in Navi, in the old Navi, I felt like I'm really underrated, because our team was not really individually good back then. Our team was based on insane team play, and I was playing individually insane. Like, I was spending so much time in CS back then, and that's why I felt like I'm underrated individually. And when I ended up in 2015, when I ended up second in HLTV ranking, I felt a little bit like I should have gotten the first place. But of course, Olaf was insane. I think they won major. I think he was MVP of the major and everything. But I felt like he had much better team around him than I had. Like, if you take individual skill, not team wise. Like, team wise, we were equally good as Fnatic, I would say, back then. But that time I felt like I'm underrated. And when I came to FaZe, of course I could play good, and I felt like I played really good in some events. But I think that some of the time in FaZe I was overrated. When, for example, we won IM Sydney with Exist as stand-in, and I got the MVP, and right after I was a little bit overrated because of this MVP I earned. So yeah, and if we take the present and now, I think I'm underrated because of my time in Navi after FaZe, and the time in FaZe. Like, if you take the whole 2019 I think people underrate me because of that, but at the moment all I want is comeback and show them that I'm very underrated and I can still put up good numbers against the best teams in the world. Thank you for watching this video. Make sure you like, comment and subscribe.